Good morning and good night. Thanks again for downloading the Body Snatchers podcast. And when you listen, stream, or download straight to your device, Castbox is your best option. Castbox is a free platform on your computer or mobile device that promotes podcasts just like ours to millions of listeners worldwide. Go to the App Store or Google Play and look for the orange symbol. If you're listening on your computer, go to castbox.fm and look for our show. Remember, if you like what you hear today, don't forget to subscribe and comment. So let's get started with Steve, Tino, Gia, and John with the news. Enjoy the show.
All right, guys, good morning and good night. Welcome to the Body Snatchers podcast. Today it's going to be me, Gia, and John. How are you guys doing today?
Great.
Doing pretty good.
Okay, all right. Just making sure. The holiday weekend's coming up, so I just want to make sure you're not like all in your feels. It's cuffing season.
No, I'm already cuffed down. So as far as I know,
I mean, I am, but I don't have to be. Like, how many cuffs do you get?
Good Lord, shut the hell up.
Okay, all right.
I don't know. Ask Kathy how many cups you get.
Oh my God, she fucking stole my gray sweatpants today, and they're like the most comfortable pants in the universe. And when I see her, I'm probably going to chop her in the throat.
yeah, I bought three pairs of sweatpants from Hollister, so that way I always have a pair to myself.
Ballin', you got Hollister money?
Bro, they were on sale. Like for whatever reason, for like 2 months straight, every other week, Hollister was having like some crazy sale on sweatpants and jeans. So I racked up.
Jesus, you could just be like me and not buy anything. I steal all my shit.
I bet you do.
Well, it was like they had 2 pairs of jeans for $25 when they're normally priced like above that.
Poor people money.
Well, I'm a poor person trying to ball, so balling on a budget.
What you need to do is get your sewing skills up. Ask Gia to teach you, and then you can just put patches of shit that looks like it costs money on things.
Huh.
Make it till you make it.
I'm not about that Kanye wear, whatever he called his bullshit clothing line.
Yeah, you're not, but people are buying that shit.
Yeah, I'm not normal people though.
Obviously not. Neither was Kanye, but one of you was rich and one of you was John. So
Oh, god damn.
Damn,
take it how you want.
pay for my soul.
It's fucking brutal.
Oh Jesus. So
Would you say that he body snatched you?
oh my God. So what's everybody got going on for the holiday season? I know that we did like an exclusive Castbox show where we recently got to touch base on a few things, but you were not on that show, John. You are not part of the premium content.
No, I wasn't invited to the ballers party.
Oh Jesus. So what are you doing for the holiday, asshole?
Well, at this point, working. I just kind of any other plans just kind of come in as they come in. So I don't have any big plans right now. Just working, making money.
That's awfully depressing. We can have a Friendsgiving and you can maybe come over for that.
Well, yeah, there's that too. But
yeah, there's that. That's probably the most important fucking thing. Get excited about it or I'll fucking take my invitation back. Jesus.
I'm a +1 anyway, so I'll be there.
Well, yeah, I'm not doing anything crazy. Little Friendsgiving, that's what I'm looking forward to. Family stuff, meh, not really looking forward to it. So I'll try to make time go as quickly as possible. Oh shit, that's really funny. Gia, did you catch that?
What part?
The part where I was about to say fast and then said quickly instead. In my head, I sounded like Jimmy as Fast Pass.
Okay, Fast Pass.
That South Park game.
Yeah.
Like I knew I was doing it, but I couldn't stop it. But what about you, Jay? What you got going on?
So I will be learning some leather working so I can do some like leather armor bits, and also I'll be catching up on video games. So we as like you and I know, and John too, the Comrades DLC just dropped for Final Fantasy 15. So gonna play that, gonna play and max out everything that I can on the new Pokemon games that came out. And then also like finally get around to the Horizon Zero Dawn DLC and play that.
Sounds good. Are you on a kind of like a sidebar here? Are you trying to get down on this Final Fantasy Comrades this evening, or you got to work?
I do have to work, but I can play for like an hour before I have to nap again.
Maybe an hour is all I need.
Just the hell up.
Well, at least I didn't say 2 minutes. That's what Steven would have said.
Damn.
That's exactly. You're right.
On a good day. So, Ben, we were on Gia's live cast or whatever, and I was doing the same thing. We were streaming Final Fantasy Comrades, and Dalen was on there. And I think Steven got on the chat for a little bit, and he was like, Galen, can you help me? And we were like, Dalen with a little D. And I think that offended him because he got really quiet, and now I'm going to use that joke. So if anybody has a friend named Dalen, say Dalen, yeah, say Dalen with a little D. They'll love that.
We should just call him Dolan.
We should.
Like Dolan Duck. Just get him.
So, anyways, John,
What up?
what you got for us today?
News, which I'm sure most people at this point have heard about, but the huge like EA controversy going on with Star Wars Battlefront and their super like apparent greediness that EA is known for, just on like a different level at this point.
Yeah, I've seen the memes floating around. It seems
Yeah, man, it's been crazy. Like when people found out about like with their microtransactions and how you have to grind to get, you know, certain players or certain characters in the game, how bad it's gotten. Which, don't get me wrong, I don't mind grinding in a game that's fun, and if it actually feels like the things that I'm unlocking, I've actually, you know, put the time in and played to do it, that's all good. But to actually make it to where you're grinding, you have to grind for so much longer just to get certain characters, but then somebody could come in and pay money to get these characters right off the bat. It's like, it's pretty ridiculous because it's not just about the character models themselves, it's actual like game advantage microtransactions, not just like you're buying skins and shit. So
a little bit of confusion with that. It wasn't so much as that like they could just straight up buy the characters with their money, but what it was is that the loot boxes, the loot boxes dropped substantial amounts of credits, which allowed them to go ahead and do that. Also dropped substantial amounts of like the star cards. Now, you would still have to play the game to unlock the slots for your star cards, but it was just the point that people were grinding 40 plus hours just to be able to afford, you know, Darth Vader, who was 75,000, I think, maybe a little bit less. I can't remember the exact number, but he was really high. And before the drop happened, like, it was just ridiculous. And, you know, of course, you have the onesies and twosies. They're like, well, Gia, I was able to play for just 5 hours and then afford him. And that's like, that's awesome. RNGesus loved you and gave you a shit ton of credits. But that's not like the case for most other people. Most other people had to play 40 hours just to make enough to unlock that one character, who honestly, Darth Vader is like a staple and should have been included. Like Boba Fett should have been your DLC thing that you can buy.
Those characters, it's, you know, if you're the type of person who doesn't have a lot of time to play this game and, you know, put in the amount of hours to unlock these characters, you're just kind of going to get shitted on most of the time. And it's not super fair. I'm not saying that they should just give us these characters, but to make it that hard in order for somebody to do that, to get those characters unlocked, is kind of unfair. And then with the microtransactions, it's like, even if you grind to get those loot crates, the loot crates are random. So like Gia was saying, even if you buy the loot crates, it doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to get, you know, the amount of credits or whatever that you need right off the bat. So I think somebody went through and actually tried to calculate how much it would cost in order for you to get all the credits necessary in order to unlock all the specialty characters. And I think it came out to like $2,100. I forgot. They also calculated the playtime as well, which was ridiculous.
That's nothing.
So it's like, I'm not going to spend $2,170 something odd dollars on a fucking video game. I mean, it may be pretty. It may be a gorgeous game. The gunplay may be great. The new story mode that they added could be great, which a lot of people have actually been giving EA credit for on the story mode. But it's ridiculous. And EA is just, they've gotten so much worse. Like, we've all known that EA's been greedy for a long time, but it's just tough to continue to allow them to do that to people. And, you know, obviously their CEO, he got a bunch of death threats and fucking tons of emails and tweets about him. So much so they actually canceled the microtransactions, but they didn't change the grind system.
But they did change it just a tiny bit. They made the characters a lot cheaper. And a lot of people were like, well, they dropped the credit ratio too. Yeah, but the credit ratio was dropped by like a much smaller percentage than like the cost for the, you know, the characters to be unlocked. But they are bringing microtransactions back, which I'm kind of iffy about. They just are waiting until they, I guess, fix the system that they put in place in the first place.
They're going to find a stinkier way to do it. And also, just to add, they also bought Respawn Entertainment. So for all of you Titanfall fans, when Titanfall 3 comes out, be prepared for more microtransactions.
Jesus, yeah. And the thing is I think like primarily the majority of people that were super upset about this is not so much about the microtransactions, because that's been a thing in games for a while. You can buy skins, you can make things look cosmetically better, etc. Got it, cool. It happens in your free to play games where you can like pay money to unlock certain things. But those also you didn't pay $60 for when you first got it. And a lot of people felt that it was creating a dangerous standard where you would pay for the original game, which should come with a bunch of stuff for you to do anyway, just to have to pay more and more and more. And I think that's why like there was such a huge backlash, and then people like actually spoke up about it because, you know, people have been complaining about stuff like this for a long time. Like, oh, why is the DLC $30 and the game $60 and the DLC only has like 10 hours of gameplay? Why are they doing this to us?
They've done it to themselves though.
Yeah, I know. And it's because we've just been allowing it to happen. We've been complacent. And now I guess when it got to that point where people are like, holy shit, this is too much.
Yeah, I think EA was probably just seeing how far they could push it before they, you know, get some backlash. But, and I've said this in other shows before, as consumers, we have to start exercising like our buying power. And, you know, we can control what's going on to a certain point to where we're just not being taken advantage of, like, you know, that like we have been. EA has just kind of been one of the worst examples. Activision is pretty bad at it as well. I know we talked about that on the other show.
You know what though? We're not going to get there though, in my opinion, because it's the consumer that they're aiming for. Like it affects people like you and me and Gia and a handful of others, but their main audience is like, you know, a real simple crowd, you know, shots fired. I don't give a fuck. You know, the Call of Duty people and the, you know, the NBA 2K people and all them motherfuckers, like they give you essentially the same fucking game with very little effort every single year. And, you know, there's so much extra content that you have to buy after purchasing the initial game. I mean, look at Call of Duty. You know, they go between 2 different gaming studios just to make sure that they can push one out every year, which on paper sounds good. But like when you think about it, it's like, what are you really buying at this point? I mean, the games,
I thought they were up to 3 at this point.
Is it 3 now? It might be.
I think so.
I fell off. I stopped playing them. I got tired. It was just like the same shit. And everybody's like, oh, well, get these FPS games. It's so great. You suck at FPS. I was like, I actually was kind of decent when I used to play all the time. But once, you know, you get so far, it's like, dude, I'm so tired of like buying a game, you know, beating it, and then having to prestige over and over and over again. It's like the same shit. And it's like, I'm paying this extra money, but like, what am I really getting out of it? Back in the day, like I got the same kind of fun and I wasn't paying extra money. So you tell me what the problem. So I stopped paying. And I think that other people should stop paying and stop playing. And, you know, the good games are going to come back, or somebody else is going to step up and give you something, you know, worth your while without raping your pockets. That's just my opinion on it.
I agree. But, you know, it also comes to us supporting like smaller name companies as well, who still try to hold that same business model, because a lot of them are the same age as a lot of the people running those companies are the same age as us. They grew up playing video games just like we did. And yeah, they have a business to run, but they also understand how gamers of that era feel about like microtransactions, or not just microtransactions, just giving you product where, you know, the first time you spend money on it, it actually feels like you got something complete. Everything else is extra that you probably wouldn't mind spending money on.
Nah, man, this shit was systematic and strategic. They took out Game Shark, they took out Game Genie, they took out Tips and Tricks magazine, and now they're coming for our heads and our pockets.
Damn, no more cheat codes.
Back on the real topic, that's why I really, really liked Witcher 3 when it came out, because one, it came out with like quote unquote a bunch of DLC already. And the stuff that they added on afterwards was truly not necessary for story. It was just extra stuff for people to like enjoy. And it didn't cost an arm and a leg to buy it. And you got like, I don't know, I spent $10 for each of the DLC and got, you know, 30 hours of gameplay. So I was fucking content.
But anyway, that's pretty much all I had for that. I mean, obviously it's all over the internet and Facebook, so people can research it to, you know, to get more info on it.
Nice. So the holiday season's coming up, but this past weekend, Justice League just came out. And I personally have been waiting a really long time to see it. I was really, really let down by Will Smith and Friends. That's what we'll call it. I can't call it anything else. I'm not going to call it by its actual name. I hate that movie. It was just terrible. And Batman versus Superman was also really offensive. You know, in Justice League, it was a good movie. It's the best movie they ever made, which doesn't necessarily mean that it's the best movie ever, because it's not. But
no, it's better though.
It's pretty good. I really enjoyed it. Some of you may not agree with me. Some of you may not like it as much as I did. And I was very surprised that I liked it as much as I did. So let me be the first to say that.
we can agree, at least me and you, I don't know about Gia, we went into it with low expectations. So I think the fact that it was, that we did enjoy it.
I don't think that was it, only because, like, if you want to talk about going into a movie with low expectations, we can just, for a quick second, bring up Transformers 5. I went in there with the absolute lowest of the low, and they let me down. So, I'll leave that at that. So
I was not paying money to go see that movie.
Give us a breakdown, Gia. Tell us some of your thoughts and your feelings.
So overall, I thought it was one of the better DC movies to come out. I personally feel like it's kind of tied with Wonder Woman. I really enjoyed that they brought Flash the way that they did, because it's exactly like he is in the comics and the cartoons. And there was a lot of like dismay from people where they're like, I don't like the Flash. TV Flash is the best. And I'm like, yeah, but if you read the comics and stuff, you know that TV Flash isn't exactly like Barry Allen. Like, this representation we got in that movie was awkward, quirky, stupid, bad pun joke Barry Allen. And it's the Barry Allen before he gains confidence. Like, it's exactly him.
Ezra was his name, right?
Yeah, Ezra.
Yeah, that dude did a great job. And I'm not, cutting you off. I just wanted to add that in there. Like, he really did a great job.
So Flash was definitely my favorite part. Aquaman, like, I love Aquaman. One of my favorite DC characters. Like, between him, the Flash series, and Wonder Woman, like, that's really the main things that I follow. And even with Flash, like, it's to a point, like, I know a lot about Flash, and it's primarily because I got into Impulse as a child, and I branched out from Impulse. But, like, Aquaman being the gritty, asshole-ish character that he was kind of put me off a little bit, because I was like, he shouldn't, be acting like this right now. But, you brought up a good point. It's like, he does have that phase where he's like an alcoholic in the comics, and he's just like an asshole to everybody. But even looking at that was like after he's already been brought in, and he had like some ridiculous shit happen, like his hand getting cut off and all a bunch of other stuff happened before he got to that point. And it's like they just automatically brought in asshole. And I think, it's because they had Jason Momoa do it, and he's known for doing like gritty characters. So they just kind of played off of what he's known for instead of just having the character be what the character is initially.
It was a nice version of it. Like, Aquaman didn't really bug me too much. I did notice what you noticed, but I was okay with it, especially since Marvel specifically keeps making such random, unnecessary changes in their cinematic universe. And I've come to stop fighting them on it. Like, it's just, I try my best to enjoy the movie for what it is.
Yeah, something that I've noticed with those changes that they make, though, and it makes sense to me. So I think that the reason that Marvel does so well in their movie verse, like, even though fans like us who know a lot of what should be happening is going on, is because they make those changes to make it easier to translate to film. Whereas DC, I think where they're struggling is they're trying to bring stuff straight from the pages directly to film. And instead of cutting it up into pieces, so like, for instance, I don't know, having two movies or even having like a kind of precursor into this that was a little bit better done than Batman versus Superman. They just try to like shove all this story. And even with that, like, the storyline for this was changed quite a bit, like not 100%, but even going back and reading through like the comics with it, like there's even a scene in the comics where Diana just gets straight ran through. Dude doesn't have a battle axe. He has more like a sword type weapon. So there are things that they do change, but they try to keep it closer to the book. And I feel like if they probably did make a couple of changes, fans like you and me that aren't just filthy casuals would probably be kind of irritated, but it might make for a better movie, if that makes sense.
I mean, it could. And and I'm disagreeing with Gia. It's very rare, but that happens, so you guys take it how you want to when you go ahead and see it. I personally, because we've been fighting for days about it, going back and forth, just because we're petty. But me personally, I thought it was paced pretty well. They did put an awful lot of information into one movie, sure, but they also didn't, they didn't make it bad. To me, it was done like in a tasteful way. Like, if you've ever watched one of the animated DC movies, which are done really, really well, the runtimes in those are usually like an hour and a half, 2 hours, which is, give or take about what this movie was. And, the amount of time and what they did, it felt like the pacing was just like, one of those animated series. So for instance, like the newest not newest, but one of the newer reboots for the Justice League animated series that DC did. They spend maybe 15 to 20 minutes, give or take, on Cyborg specifically, and just kind of explain, that he's Victor Stone and who his father is, what he does, his backstory, a little bit about him and his father's relationship, and in that time, you get enough to get a feel for the character and kind of understand, their attitude towards, whatever, main situation is going on in the story as it, moves along towards its climax point. And that's kind of how this movie was paced to me. It didn't feel rushed. You didn't get as much information as you would like if you're a hardcore fan, and that's fair. But if you're just watching this movie for the first time, I don't think that all the dots are going to be completely disconnected. You're going to know enough. Of course, an origin movie could have been nice, but in my opinion, I feel like, I don't care for Zack Snyder. Whether or not this movie was good, I don't care for him. And I feel like
an origin movie could have been nice.
He's a piece of shit. And
he is.
And I just feel like, this movie, and he knew it, was kind of like a make or break situation where, if he didn't finally fucking get something halfway decent done, they were going to have problems. And we had a lot of issues with what he was working on beforehand. Zack Snyder, it was kind of like a make or break moment for him. And with I don't want to bring him up again, but Michael Bay, just truly did not give a fuck. They just consistently,
No.
they just got worse, because he was signing up for his contracts and he knew it. And I think, I don't think Zack Snyder wants to continue to take L's the way he's been,
Do you know that that old school song that's the ultimate showdown of ultimate history?
Yes.
The second that you
Yes.
said that, I was just good guys, bad guys, and explosions. That's all Michael Bay is.
He's such a fucking tool.
Yeah, he's as basic as you can get when it comes to making any type of movie, action movie.
Bad guys, and explosions.
Yeah. But so I, regardless of my reservations on it, I did thoroughly enjoy this, and I was very happy that I went to go see it. One of the main complaints that I had, and it's been bugging the shit out of me, because if you have a disagreement and you don't think something should be the way it is, some people of the internet automatically start coming to telling you that you're offended or you're a snowflake. So I'm gonna touch bases on this. Some of the Amazon costumes were changed for this movie. I made a status about it, and I said, of course, when Zack Snyder takes over, half the Amazons are wearing the equivalent of a leather bra and, a leather mini skirt for armor. And that's all I said on it. And, I felt irritated because the costumes I felt did not need to be changed. They were perfectly fine the way they were from Wonder Woman. And the reason I made the comment the way I did is because Zack Snyder is known for stylizing and wanting to show skin. Case in point, 300. Ain't no Spartan running around in just a leather fucking thong. They had leather, breastplates before, Alexander the Great came through, and then even some of them had bronze armor. The people that fought naked primarily were the slaves or the super poor people, but most Spartans weren't poor. Because they built their whole community on going to war and being the best at it. So that's the reason I made the comment, because I noticed in 300, and I even complained about it then, because I was it's not practical. And my whole point is that a lot of the women guarding the item that they're guarding, that if something goes down, you're going to need something to protect yourself with. And you're telling me that you're really protected with, a leather bra and leather underwear. And that was my complaint for it. But apparently I was told that I was offended. I thought that Zack Snyder was sexist. And also that I'm mad because they just looked sexy. And I'm dude, that's not the reason. I just don't think it's practical. And then, of course, you get people who mansplain and they're or femsplain, however you want to put it. But they're oh, you're talking about things making sense in a movie about a guy that flies around shooting laser beams out of his eyes. And I'm just I
kind of complained about it as well, but once that was before I actually saw the movie, and saw that they did keep most of the armor styling from Wonder Woman. It was a small portion of the movie where they were
I'd say it's about half.
Right, which I originally thought, like I said, before I actually seen the movie, I thought that's how he had changed their armor.
Like all of them.
Permanently. Yeah, like all of it. That would have pissed me off. But the fact that it was just a small portion of it made sense.
And I kind of knew that, you know, like already looking into it and having research, like I didn't really know much about that armor change until like maybe a day or two before. And I was like, okay, maybe it's they were just walking around, you know, clothing. Because, you know, in the comics, they do kind of wear revealing like cloth clothing when they're not like garbed up for battle. But every instance that you see them like garbed up, they're in like their legs might be showing, but their vital organs are all like covered. And of course, like somebody shared an article and like one CrossFit chick, I think her name's like NC. She was talking about how it made her feel like her muscles weren't masculine and she was able to have big glamorous hair. So she felt pretty because of that. And I was just like, okay, that's not really okay, whatever. And then the other girl, her comment made a whole lot more sense because her argument was it's more functional to be able to move around in versus a full leather bodice. And my only comparison to that was there are fabrics in the DC universe that are kind of like, you know, vibranium fabrics in Marvel that provide good coverage and actual armor that they could have like lined the stomach area for if they wanted to go for mobility. But then my next argument was, I think maybe only one of the women dressed like that was actually jumping around fighting. Like most of the other ones, like you have 4 on the beams that knocked them down. They were dressed like that. And all the other ones like lining the room were like kind of standing in one spot. And another argument from another one was like, oh, nobody's getting close enough to us to hurt us in this. So what does it matter? And all I could do was flash back to Wonder Woman where they were just getting shot from a distance. And in this movie where they were just getting blasted by these like bug creatures flying out of the vortex. And I'm like, obviously shit's getting close enough to hurt you. Like freaking idiot.
So some of the things that like I wanted to talk about, because I know we're getting close on time here, but I wanted to talk about a few of the highlights that I really enjoyed from the movie and just touch base on it. We don't have to get super into it, but I'd want to hear from you guys as well. But as far as like favorite moments in that movie go, one, Steppenwolf cutting the shit out of all those Amazons with that axe. I thoroughly enjoyed him slicing through all of those chicks like butter. It was hilarious to me.
That was pretty cool. 2,
I really loved the way that they made Barry look when he was, going into the Speed Force and just moving around and everything. It felt like a breath of fresh air compared to the only speedsters we've seen are, from Marvel. And I hate to, go straight to Marvel for comparison, but I just kind of got tired of seeing like, the way the Quicksilver scenes and stuff look, where it was just like, they slowed down time and he was moving, sure, but like they would just kind of zoom in on and make like funny scenes and scenarios out of it. And they did that a little bit in DC, but I just like the lightning and, the whole feel of the Speed Force, just felt a lot cooler to, or at least different, which was nice.
Yeah. Speaking of the Speed Force scenes, I'm going to touch on 2 scenes that I really enjoyed. Actually, let's just say 3. Any scene where Barry trips, because that happens all the time in the comics and show like cartoon, he just trips on fucking everything because he'll lose focus and he'll just like trip on something. The scene where he does like the little like Da Vinci, is it Da Vinci? I don't even remember who made the painting, but like the God touch thing where like he pokes the sword back into Wonder Woman's hand. And then the other one was, of course, like this actually bothered me, the Superman being like just as fast as him. Like it kind of made sense maybe for an unconfident Barry who doesn't know his limits. But that scene when
this is a fresh Barry, right?
He had never fought before, so yeah, he was fresh at this point.
But that scene when he's running up on Superman, holding everybody, and all you see is Superman look at him and then just turn his whole fucking body. Boy, I died laughing. I cracked up.
And that was actually going to be the scene I was going to talk about, not specifically that portion of it, but
thunder.
The scene where Superman, and huge spoiler, but you know what you're getting into when you watch this. Superman comes back from the dead, and he fucking mops the floor with everybody who's, in the quote unquote Justice League that they're forming.
Can we talk about him throwing the shit out of Batman? I was so pleased with that.
Oh,
he deserved it though. Like he deserved it. He deserved worse, but
I was in tears. I loved every moment of that. But specifically, the best part of that was, because Wonder Woman has been the heavy hitter for the most part in their little clique that they got going on. And when she tries to go toe to toe with Superman, and fucking gives him like a nice good headbutt with her little super strength, and he's like, mm-mm. And he like headbutts the shit out of her.
Well, he headbutts her first. Then she's like, she shakes her head. She tries to get him back. And boy, he just flies up and fucking super headbutts her right into the fucking ground.
He was like, I gave you a chance to lay down. Now you about to catch my whole rat.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I was saying. Like, it was just super hilarious to me. And the fight scene was really, really good. It was really well done. I have no complaints about it. Like, just the way he was tearing through them, really enjoyable. I mean, honestly, like that scene to me, and I'm not mad about it, but it is a fact, was better than the ending fight scene, which I had no issues with, but this was better. This was more enjoyable. So you're going to probably peak there if fight scenes is your thing. And then, the end one, it's got action, blah, 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 whatever. But yeah, like pay attention to that. It's a fun scene. And what about you, John?
Favorite scenes? I would definitely have to say the fight scene when they brought him back to life. I like that a lot. I enjoyed the movie. Like, I was entertained pretty much the whole way through. The fight scene in the silo, though, that was pretty fun too. Watching that go down. I don't know. I'm trying to think of what else like I would have liked to have seen, but I can't really think of anything. Like, it was pretty well done. They gave everybody a good amount of time to just kind of, show their background, but then also show what, why they are who they are.
Yeah, I kind of feel like maybe the thing with Flash, like now that I think about it, how like they brought in Spider-Man and Black Panther the way they did into Civil War, like maybe that's a precursor. And then like the Flash thing is kind of going to be like the Spider-Man thing where they brought him in and now, it's him figuring out everything that he can do.
Do you think they'll give him his own movie?
I would hope so, because he has a lot of content and that would be great. And it would be like a change of pace.
I would love that as well.
And then, when they're talking to fucking Gordon on the roof.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
and he's just sitting there and they're all talking. Next thing you know, they disappear. And he's like, oh, wow, they're gone. That's rude. And then he just like fucking runs off.
But speaking of disappearing, we are at time.
Bitch.
Right? You hold on to those thoughts for the next time we ask your opinion about something.
Yeah, it'll be too late by then.
No. We really care about you deeply. So thank you, everybody, for tuning in. The website, again, is www.bodysnatcherspodcast.com. Specifically, bodysnatcherspodcast.com/reviews if you want to go straight to the downloads. We hope you enjoyed today's show. So for Steven, he's not here. That's me. Gia and John, tell someone you love them.
Thanks for tuning in.
Peace out.